Let's have a seat, please. Okay, we are going to start the program in a minute, so kindly please take your seat. Please take your seat. Okay, so why not we start the program? This is our innovation hyperdrive panel. Okay. So we have 6 distinguished guests who are going to be today participating in the panel.
Mr. Convener.
Okay. We need 2 more microphones here.
Yep, one's on the podium and the other one's on the podium.
Okay. Okay. Okay, first I would like to invite Mr. Robert Soni, Head of System Engineering, Architecture Technology, Mobile Technology, Nokia. Please come to the stage, please. With a big round of applause. Dr. Shubham Mahapatra, CTO Ericsson, Student Institution. Ishpreet, Managing Director, Virtualization Center.
Oh, you all can take a seat. You don't need to stand.
Thank you. Okay, Arun Sharma, Digital Innovation Leader. Mr. Krishna, Head of Traffic Acquisition and TripAdvisor. And our Dr. Ashutosh Datta, Technology Benefits at AT&T. Okay, welcome guys to our innovation panel.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. And so you know the format, what we are going to do, and we have a lot of audience here. They are anxiously waiting to learn and understand and hear from you about your industry knowledge, your experience, and what contribution you are bringing onto the society as well as your company. Okay. To start with this, I'm going to ask you the basic question. The first question that I'm going to ask is, what is driving innovation in your industry? So please be specific to your industry, and you have 2 minutes to give your industry perspective and about yourself. So we can start from the left.
Thank you.
So, I'm Arun Sharma, first of all, and then after engineering, I worked for a few years in like technology field, and then I started with MBA. And ever since then, I was always in the new products and services departments, right? Building new things in financial services mainly, and lately in healthcare. So I always ask myself a question: what is innovation, and where does it begin? So I was in the internal consulting unit at American Express, working in the internal strategy team, reporting into Ken Chenault's office. So they always looked for new things. So I always asked, where should we begin? If you are thinking the same thing, then you answer the question, what is innovation? Right? So I remember building solutions, right? If you are focusing on innovation, then the starting point is what? Where would you start? It's the solution to a problem. So you must understand what is the need, what is the problem. Therefore, once you have solved the problem creatively, then you have innovated something. So glad to be here. I'll share with you, depending on your appetite for certain areas, things from financial services sector and perhaps a little bit of healthcare. Thank you.
So I come from hedge fund industry, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on currently in our space. You know, we are in the prediction business. We predict stock markets, we predict the direction of the stock market. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. But as long as we are correct 51% of the time, or over 50%, even if it's 50.1, we're okay. So in this prediction model, where is the innovation happening and what's enabling this innovation? Some of the trends are common across the different industries. We are using machine learning more and more. We are using AI. We are using alternate data sets. We are using huge amount of data, right? Which I think applies to other industries too. But how we use it is different. And I'll talk a little bit more about it, in this session. And also about the ideas that are driving the innovation. I think that's the most powerful piece. And how do you capture those ideas and how do you act on those ideas? We have instituted a process to do that. And I'll talk a little bit more, later in the session.
Hi, I'm Rob Soni, and I lead a system engineering and architecture team at Nokia. And innovation is an interesting word, interesting space. I've been involved in innovation activities pretty much since I started with Lucent. Lucent became Alcatel-Lucent, Alcatel-Lucent part of Nokia now. We sometimes joke about what brings innovation in telecom, especially in wireless, and we think it might be mergers and acquisitions. Every 10 years it seems that the folks in New Jersey, especially in telecom, are living through another thing. We joked about it. I think in '86 was divestiture. AT&T separated Mama Bell and Baby Bells. '96 they spun off Lucent. 2006 Lucent became part of Alcatel-Lucent, and then 2016 we became part of Nokia. So all of us are wondering what's happening in 2026, and we'll see, really what's going to drive us. Telecom, and in particular wireless, right now is sitting in a really interesting space of innovation where we're trying to bring the 5th generation of cellular access. And there's a lot of discussion about whether it's even really needed. There's a lot already available in the 4th generation of cellular. There's already a lot of interesting technologies that are going to be deployed on 4th, and maybe the 5th isn't necessarily needed. There's even jokes that people will make as I walk down the hallways of, well, 1G was a failure, 3G was a failure, but 2G and 4G, they were successes, so what does that mean about 5? So we're going to see some interesting things happen. I mean, core technologies, there's definitely a lot of innovation in improving data rates, improving reach, and improving coverage. But the key area, the area that's most interesting, especially, and the most fertile for disruption, is in deployment, in operations, in management, in performance. And it links back to the things that people are doing in other fields, ironically. And a lot of our customer partners are always looking for us often to find ways to actually disrupt and tip over our business because we've been so focused on delivering things the way that we have been, and innovating the way that we have been for the last 40 years. And I haven't been in this business for 40 years, I'm only 47, but you can very obviously see that the behavior doesn't change, and the only way that they think it will change is by allowing for the technology that we deploy to be available to young startups to participate in, to be part of. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Thank you.
Myself, Sukan Mahapatra, I'm heading technology and strategy in Ericsson. As you know, Ericsson is mostly the telecom equipment provider, primarily in mobile domain. And actually the world, 40% of mobile traffic in the world runs using Ericsson network equipment. So far as innovation, what is innovation? What we're trying to do? Innovation driven by multiple things. One is, what is the need? Where market is looking, and what is the need of the community down the road, and what is the vision to meet those needs or beyond that need. That's what the innovation is happening. And specifically, our strategy is to create a hyper-connected world where man, machine will work in a harmonized ecosystem to have a better living, with smart living. You have a smart living, smart working environment, as well as the ecosystem, the environment where you live, it is also smart. That's why we are heading. But if you look into, if I take top 3 innovation areas, what we are focused, based on companies' imperative, one is on the 5G, but 5G is not another G. It's not like a 1G, 2G, which are primarily based on kind of a data-led growth. But 5G is total ecosystem, how to support different industry, different verticals, different use case. So that's one focus area we're working on, but it is towards a hyper-connected world. It's not just phone connection, looking at video, looking at a messaging system, how man-machine can work together to provide a harmonized ecosystem. Second part, what we're looking, Internet of Everything, right? So IoT, instead of things, we're talking everything. That need include human being also. The third thing what we're looking into, the network virtualization. So what is happening if you look into the fundamental network infrastructure, Verizon, AT&T, everybody is having so many infrastructure, but they're doing basically the same thing. So how we can kind of leverage the infrastructure in an effective way so that you get best bang for the buck. So when the virtualization happen, you'll basically everybody can get a slice of the network, and so that infrastructure could be shared even across the companies, across the service provider, so you can get effective services much cost-effective way. So those are 3 major areas what we are focusing. But again, everything is driven by need, where the market is heading, as well as vertical vision, what we see in the future.
Great, thank you.
So rather than trying to define innovation, I'll try to relate it through my experience. I came to this country right after graduating from NIT, that's back in 1990. So for the past 27 years, 25% of my time went into PhD computer science. Remaining 25% of my time in big companies, publicly traded companies, and remaining 50% of my time in startup, where I started a couple of companies and I had joined a third startup by my friend. So when I started, internet was still SONET based, which was synchronous networks, and the challenge was we're going to see video, packet, data growing. So at that point, my focus was right after school. We were competing against MIT, Stanford for the best algorithms to provide quality of service for data traffic. So the first few years was writing a lot of patents that I thought was innovation, right? Really, that is not innovation, because then you have to translate to products that make sense. So immediately after my green card, I joined a company which was focused on metro optical networking. And again, the focus was how do we push packets efficiently in a TDM world, in a time multiplexed world. So that's a challenge in the networking field, and that caused the boom and the subsequent bust. But in that 4 years of networking, there was a lot of innovation in the telecom space, where a lot of networks or telecom operators were transitioning from synchronous optical networks to Ethernet and all those things. So that was one phase. I'm going to say something which is going to be controversial with 50% of the people here in telecom. I thought that telecom was getting commoditized, so I didn't find it interesting anymore. So then I went and started a company on IoT, before it was IoT, it's called RFID. So radio frequency identification, and Walmart was initiating this whole initiative where they wanted to replace barcodes with radio sensors. And the reason why they wanted to do it was to innovate and reduce errors in supply chain and quicker tracking for efficient tracking. So that was 6 years of effort. We really found out there was a lot of gaps in the technology that needs to be addressed to it to be scaled. And now what is innovation there? So if you want to have a technology to be ubiquitously deployed, you need standards in place. Why do we need standards? If you don't have standards, like if you don't have 802.11 Wi-Fi, you wouldn't be ubiquitous. So then there needs to be standards. So I wrote a standard, now it's a worldwide protocol, it's used by millions of sensors. So that's innovation, right? Then you come to fast forward now, what I do at TripAdvisor, which is applying machine learning, artificial intelligence, large-scale data in a discipline which used to be primarily art form, marketing. So what is marketing? It was basically brand awareness. Hey, know about this product, know about our company, use this. That's the day of the past. In the day of Facebook and Google, where people have access to media and content readily on their mobile phones and desktops, how can you be in front of them at the right place at the right time so that when they want to use your services, you can see them, the user can see it. So that comes into advertising technology and performance marketing, and we apply huge amount of marketing, machine learning, AI, data science to come up with the right answer, because at the end of the day, if you're not revenue neutral, you're not in business. So every dollar that we spend, we are making a dollar back. So that's, again, a lot of innovation happening on performance marketing. I can enlighten people if you want to know about it. But over the last 27 years, I've transcended different areas. And what I look forward to is to combine all these different disparate pieces and put them together to build some meaningful solutions to solve some problems.
Thank you.
My turn. All right. Thank you all the panelists. I'm Ashutosh Datta, 85 EE. Came here in 87. Did my master's from India IT. Then I joined Columbia University. So I did my part-time PhD there. But my innovation, the link to innovation, I have seen innovation from a different angle. So 8 years I was at Columbia. Innovation, I had to deal with faculty, PhD student researchers, where they come up with the very fundamentals of innovation, right? And some of them may get productized, some of them may just become like PhD thesis like that, right? So that is one type of innovation. And all of these innovations are important, right? You may have 100 innovations, maybe 5 of them get productized. That doesn't mean that you should not keep thinking, the old Bell Labs culture, right? You have to keep thinking in a way. Some of them may get productized, some of them may not. My next phase of life was in Belcoria research, or Belcor, applied research, right? That is one of the most exciting time I had. 13 years I was there. We had to come up with a concept, then we have to proof of concept, productize it, and you talk about standards. It's very important to go and talk about standards, talking about IEEE or 3GPP, etc., right? At that point, I also had the opportunity to work with other R&D labs like in Japan, Europe, other places, right? So that is the way of collaboration. So when you have to have innovation, you need to collaborate internally within your company at the same time externally. So that is very, very important. So over there, obviously, we come up with our patents, papers, etc., and some of them again got productized, some of them just remain like that. But that is still okay. You're contributing to some intellectual property for humanity, right? They can at some point they may get used. Some of us have worked in startup. I think after that I joined a startup for 2.5 years, and I changed my field to security. Where we worked in a startup, I had the opportunity to come up with a proof of concept. I was the CTO for the company, and you come up with we had an innovation lab, for 25 people, an innovation 200 people company. We come up with an idea because the product was lacking. There was no security monitoring for mobility networks, for example, right? So we built a product with the help of this team, and I led the team. That was really very gratifying moment. And then we worked with the engineering team to build the product, and then we went out and tried to sell the product to different operators. And the first product I sold is AT&T, then they hired me. So I've been with AT&T for the last 5 years, mostly focusing on security. So I'm just trying to set different areas of innovation, and you can apply innovation different places. I know some of us have worked in startup, and where you come up with a proof of concept, then standardize it and prototype it, and go and sell the product. When you see the product is getting used, you get the best satisfaction out of it, right? But I don't think you should stop innovation at any point of time. You never know when this is going to get used. Talking about now that I work for AT&T, I'll say a little bit about what is AT&T doing. And I know we have Nokia, we have Ericsson, some of the vendors we depend on. But we are not depending on only those big vendors. We are also depending on the startups today. We are depending on the universities, because things are changing. If you think about the evolution of telecom, talking about telecom, right? You started with message switching, circuit switching, packet switching. Now we are at a different crossroad, which Dr. Mahapatra talked about, virtualization or software-defined networking. End of the day, I think he also hinted, simplicity, flexible services to the end customer, cost, the capital expense, operational expense, how to keep the cost down. So as an operator within AT&T, if we have to think about how to provide the best service to the end customer, flexible service at a cost-efficient manner, keeping our costs down, we have to make our network very flexible and scalable. And that is a crossroad we have. I mean, we are trying to change the whole paradigm of network to software-defined networking and software. Everything is going to be software-driven. And right now, 35% of our network has been completely virtualized. By 2020, we plan to have 70% virtualized. And we're going to depend on companies like Nokia, Ericsson, other big companies, small companies, startups, etc., and as well as university partners. So that's where I see the innovation comes, where you not only depend on the big companies, even PhD students, learn from them and prototype them, standardize them, and at some point you productize them, because that's where you see the full life cycle of innovation life cycle.
Thank you very much. And it's extremely good information that has come in a diversified way. I think so it leads to the next question. I think you have pretty much answered some of them towards the success factor of product, going into product from the innovation, right? So making a lot of innovations are good, but then how do you productionize that, right? So to get into that, there are two questions comes in. One, how is your engineering background, right? You are all from an IT. So how is your engineering background influencing in that decision to convert an innovation concept into a product, right? So let's go into a little deeper in that direction, and I will start with Mr. Soni, and then we'll go this way and then the other way.
So it's an interesting question, especially what we've seen a lot, and I respect actually there are quite a few wireless experts here with us. One of the challenges that we often get from our operator partners is that when we want to roll out a new concept, a new service, it's 4 years from that concept to actually affecting the end user. So we've had challenges, and we've seen this, especially there's been very aggressive rollouts of IoT over cellular, and they crunch the cycle from maybe 4 years down to 3, but that's still not very exciting. So if you're an investor, if you're a banker, and you say, I want to see an impact, and I want to see it ultimately impact revenue or finally impact my market position, and I have to wait 4 years to see that innovation in the business, this is the struggle. So classically trained engineer spent his time to say, okay, what is the process? Do some study, do some analysis, file a patent, do some simulations, do more analysis, start some design work, okay, fine. Then it has to go to standards, has to get ratified. Then it finally has to become a product or proof of concept. Then from there it gets demonstrated and convinced the operator. This process is too long. And this is one of the reasons why I think we heard Ashutosh really talk a lot about how they're trying to disrupt things and tip the apple cart in AT&T. And the way they do it is by saying, let's move more of what was traditionally bare metal into the virtualized space, and say, let's give the opportunity, once we have more software, less hardware, more commoditized hardware, more special value software, which can come from a startup, as opposed to a big vendor, that they can innovate and they can create and be disruptive and add new services. So this is the really exciting time for me, at least in the point from my career, that if you are stuck in the space and the mentality of, okay, I learned classically how system engineering was done, and got us to the moon and back, and this worked fine, but it took us 10 years to get to the moon, 12 years to get to the moon from start to finish. They can't rely on that kind of base process of innovation, of discovery to deliver new products. So finally, what we've seen a lot of, and a lot of trending overall in the industry, is that in order to bring this innovation finally back, we need to open things up. So there's a lot of people that are trying to disrupt the Nokias and the Ericssons in the world, and most of them live in Silicon Valley, unfortunately. But at the same time, they are also, I think, a spread and a push to us to allow it to happen, but also participate in that and help our operator partners to move forward. And I should stop.
Great.
This is a telecom heavy panel though. So I'll try to keep away from that.
I just want to comment, don't be focused on telecom panel. You have other verticals, please feel free to.
Yeah, so I think we have finance and then telecom.
Yeah.
And then there's one marketing.
Well, I have done telecom too, but I can say.
And I spent about 8 years in Bell Labs, in Lucent also, before doing the finance.
Now it's biased.
But I don't want to speak about telecom.
Okay, so what's happening in the quant hedge fund space, and how is engineering helping there? So the explosion of data, how do you manage this huge amount of data coming in, and how do you use it in a timely fashion? That is key. I'm sorry. Okay. So as I'm talking about the data explosion, right? So it's an engineering problem to solve, right? And we are a financial company, but I think at the end we are a technology company, right? Because we have these challenges to solve, and but I wouldn't call that innovation. It's an engineering problem to solve, and we have solved it, and we will be solving it. The innovation comes with the ideas on how to leverage all the information that's out there. The innovation comes from how soon can you get the idea into execution, right? That is key. And the key to that is your platform, is your framework simple? Can the idea be expressed in a fast enough manner, and you have an output that you can use? That is key to us. And I'm not making a plug for the company, but just to give an example, we have a product out on the internet called WebSim. We are all about simulations and backtesting, like Robert was saying. You got to simulate everything, and then you got to get into standards. But thank God we don't have to worry about standards. But we still have to simulate, and we have to make sure what you simulate on past history will bear out in the future. With machine learning, that's a big challenge. You apply these neural networks, you apply deep learning on all this data, but you don't know how they come up with a prediction. No one knows why is the computer predicting something. So what's your confidence level on it? How do you get confidence in it? There's no way. So we deploy some capital, but we deploy it reluctantly. We deploy it in a very cautious manner. We do not deploy billions of dollars on it. We deploy millions of dollars on it. Because we cannot explain why is the computer predicting something. That time will come, hopefully. We are not there yet. Right, but coming back to my point about simplicity, there are some patterns in the stock world, in the trading world, things like momentum, things like reversion in the prices that you can leverage. People used to write, a team of quants used to spend 6 months writing a strategy to exploit that. We have come up with a way that you can do it all in one line, in 1 minute. That's the innovation happening there. So one idea you can multiply many times. You can come up with many variations. You can combine different ideas together and come up with an even better alpha. And you can capture that alpha. So speed to market is important. If I don't capture that alpha, someone else will. I can make that money then. So simplicity, speed to execution, and maybe I can talk a little bit about the ideas that exploit this a little later. But those ideas are also intellectual property. But maybe I'll talk about it in a more generic way. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, I'm also learning as I'm speaking here, but the two part of your question was how do you operationalize or make something, how do you turn the idea into reality? And the second part of your question, I just want to make sure that I'm on the track, right, is whether your engineering background helps you in some way. Exactly. So I started my my digital strategy career in '99 working with people, and like very high level people in Seattle, or something sitting in front of my room. As soon as you walk, my boss said, "You know who that person is?" I said, "No." He was Paul then. And I said, I don't know, who is he? So I said, barely I remember what. And his worth was $35 billion. So I looked around from that time on, and I said, if I keep changing products and services, these guys will fire me because they don't have time. So if you care about all this telecom and financial services, just forget everything. Everything starts with the customer. So all your needs that you have, if you write down, they're same 5 or 6 needs. You need money to pay, you want to talk to your loved ones. It's the same 4, 5, 6 things. So the thing different. And the way you can actually make it operationalized, like he's saying, is, like I already covered, if you go through the linear process, the speed to acquisition is speed to execution is going to suffer. So therefore the new concept is about just launching lean and improve as you go. Why wait? I mean, you learn as you go. So if you look at your own ideas, just come up with a speedy way of doing that. Don't try to be right in the first time, but learn quickly with the pilot. So that will help you improve the chance of success, right? And the second thing is whether your engineering background helps you. I don't know how to answer that question. I was thinking as you were also speaking, if I didn't have the computer science background, could I have done what I did? I'll tell you one thing. I think it's the attribute of your training that you go through. If you find out like what did you learn, like those 1, 2 or 3 things in your engineering process, you may have forgotten your books, professors, college, but I think you got trained with like those 2, 3 unique things to solve a problem creatively and not settle with a mediocre solution. Because if you have a flaw in your solution, there is a next door competitor out there right there. Your success is going to be short-lived. So I have that tenacity to just, until I'm absolutely clear that this is the best, I want to stop, right? So I think that I got basically from that type of competitiveness and the training, So I think it does help in some way. And of course, if you have, some computer science type of background, which today nearly everybody has, right? You use computers. You know that everything is data. It all boils down to that. You have a card in your pocket, but what is it? It's a bunch of data. So technology background will help, certainly. But at the same time, it can also become your weakness, because you may think very linearly. And therefore, you may have to unplug that linear thinking with little radical and exponential way of solving a problem, right? For example, I leave this for you. How many people in this room feel they are the same person that they were yesterday? And which means that they haven't learned something new, and now they are exactly the same person as yesterday. Is there anybody in this room? Raise your hand. So of course we are different. But I always wondered, why is my name called the same every day?
Okay, great, thank you. So I suppose I think we have, okay, 2 minutes each. Okay.
I have just one question.
Yeah, we have a question answer, that one just answer that.
So first, I will tell, I know some of these questions were probably, your answer we get was that youngsters who like to know, get into innovation. So my engineering degree obviously has taught me several things. Be organized, try to think. It's kind of a discipline and training, right? Be organized, think, objectively try to see what is the end goal, and don't be shy of thinking out of the box or expanding your box, right? Never be, my PhD advisor used to say, it's not like you're trying to blow up something, right? Some new idea comes, go and try it out, build a system, make sure it works. As Adam Moroso this morning said, right, Extra said, if the system doesn't work, you have to make sure this works. That's the science, right? So that is the thing I was thankfully taught by my teachers in NITROAA and NJIT. I've been at Columbia University. Think in an organized way. So that's the first thing. By the way, I still have a regret that I did not do an MBA. And someday hopefully I will do that, because I still lack that discipline a little bit, because MBA still teaches you certain things like business value, and those are important also. Sometimes I have to inculcate myself. What is the second question you had?
So the second question, the first question was, the success.
Yeah.
So
no, the first question is what I learned from engineering, right? The second question is what is the, okay, I think this has been already told.
You already answered that one before.
Yeah. So one thing is this whole life cycle, I think Dr. Soni said, and you also told about the concept, right? You come up with a concept, build a system, and make it productize, and then make sure it gets used by the community, right? So you have to go through the whole life cycle. I think I just end there.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay, so I will give you two perspectives. So the current perspective, after having had like 27 years of experience, I also mentor MIT students. So I see the kids coming out of school and the confidence that they have, right? And I used to have that same confidence 25 years ago when I came out of school. That is basically the foundation that you have from your engineering is absolutely key. If you don't have confidence in your knowledge, you won't stand a hoot in front of other people. If you want to be in the middle of the smart, if you want to be in the room full of smart people, you have to be at least as smart as them, if not smarter, right? And so I think you cannot underrate, be it engineering or any academic knowledge that you have, you cannot underrate that, because that's the foundation on which you build whatever you're building. So now I have the seasoned experience of failing and succeeding in products, and I have the luxury of knowing what works, what doesn't work. So I'm very confident of jumping into something, doing something new, right? So that confidence I wouldn't have had when I just came out of school. When I came out of school, I had the confidence of the knowledge that I had and the training that I had from school, partly from NIT, partly from PhD, and then I used that. And as I built it over the course of my career, the way and the experiences that you have is going to be critical. If it continues to be bookish and not building products and testing it in the marketplace, then the knowledge is going to be limited. So the way you grow as a human being, way you grow in your career is to showcase the talent in some form of a product and get some feedback. Don't be afraid. If people give you criticism, lap it up, because you're lucky somebody is saying something negative that you can improve on, right? So don't expect just praise, because that's one-sided and you're not going to grow as an individual. So being in startups, you barely have anything, you're naked. Right? You don't have money, you're just trying to scrunch up some things. There's no luxury or proof of concept and all those things. You build a product, literally. I thought that was only true in startups, but it's also true in the new age companies like Facebooks and the Googles and the company that I work for. You have to iterate. There is no luxury of 6 months or 2 years of product development cycle. Absolutely not. World is flying past. We have 400 million monthly active users. If you are not iterating fast enough, you're left behind. But that comes to the product innovation. But in terms of engineering, whatever you basic skills, be it math, science, use that and build upon.
5:36. I think we're running out of time, so I think
we'll have a board meeting. 6 to 6:30. One is innovation versus product for that. So if you look into, I always believe innovation never fails. But when you get to the productization, what is the success of that product based on that innovation? How do you define that success? Sometimes what happens, You might have an innovation to develop some product, but you might not monetize it. That does not mean it fail. I'll give you a clear example of that. When I was in Bell Labs, actually, if you look into Unix operating system, C++ language, came out of Bell Labs. But how much money they made out of it? Probably not much. Unix Lab was sold in a very small amount of money. The money was made by IBM AIX or Sun OSs, right? That does not mean that innovation failed. And if you look into similarly, Ledger came out of the Bell Lab. But initially, when you are doing the research on Ledger, it was focused on telecommunication. But now, if you look at Ledger, used for cutting, used for surgery. So innovation succeed, but it did not monetize it, right? That does not mean. I'll give you another example where a very good innovation, which I was involved personally, it did not see the light of it. So if you look at the typical switch in telecommunication, you basically, optical signal comes, you electrically switch, then electric signal goes to optical. So electro-opto, and then opto-electrical conversion is happening. So what we try to do, instead of doing those conversion, do that light, reflect that light, and switch that whole thing. So it is called lambda router, which is a pure optical switch using MEMS technology, right? But what it was one of the best innovation I worked, and we're talking about is gigabit switch, how we can do in like 90s, late 90s, around that. But then, .com burst happened. All the fiber were thinking, you see the light, it never saw the light. It's called dark fibers, right? And that product failed because it could not see the light because of economic situation and all. So how we define the innovation product and commercial is a very different thing. But so far it's coming to engineering background helping, I look into two ways. So one is the fundamental, when I'm doing research and all, we still use the Fourier transform. That fundamental knowledge is very important to do any additional analysis. But what we have learned in also the experience what we have gone, for example, productization, what criteria we look? First, it should be cheap, quick to market, you should have a thought leadership among other competitors, right? And how to achieve all those things together? Very important thing. So if you look right now, how the productization happening is very different than what we used to have in 20 years back. For example, when you're doing a hardware, you're thinking, okay, I do a new hardware, another 2 years I'll create another hardware. That's not going to succeed. Look at Apple. So even like they're making the hardware improvement, but the software works. So it is software defined hardware. So it is not pure hardware per se. Similarly, if you look into the software side, what we're looking right now, that's a lot of open source system, lot of ecosystem. How we can leverage that quickly to build products, cheaply to build products, and be successful and become thought leader in your area. So the model and things is very different than what we used to have done 20 years back. And technology, innovation, ecosystem has changed drastically over the years, last 50 years.
Great thought-provoking ideas. I know that we're running out of time, but I think there are a lot of questions that's been going on in people's mind. These great panelists are available for any further questions, but that will be done probably outside while you're having tea, coffee break. Actually, I have been given instruction 5 different ways, but we are running out of time. So big round of applause for our panelists. And Mr. Shiva, so if you come for a second, please.
So while they're doing it, I'll just put something for everyone to think. And this is very selfish thought, just for me. Is there something really called innovation? Why NASA spends $3 billion every 7 years they come up with I found a new planet, and that's called discovery. Einstein finds how to light up a dark room, that's called innovation. I was thinking about, do you think that innovation is really something?
Freedom of thinking. Don't unleash your thinking power. Right? That's the innovation. Don't put a perimeter there, right?
I'm not an expert. I'd like to thank the panelists. I'm sure the discussion can go on outside, so we'll continue on with that. I'm sure you're not done with it. But one thing we'd like to finish in the interest of the time, because we have worked this room for some time now to change the stage. So I would like to really thank Dr. Robert Soni for coming over here and sharing his experience and insights with us. So our convention and association has a little something for you, Ram. So Dr. Virendra Jana is the president of this. Thank you.
Just take a picture. Yeah, just take it.
I'll ask Matt to take a picture.
You took a picture, so can you please run? Yeah. So there are going to be group pictures taken by in front of the hotel and entrance. And the other thing, we have this place form. We have raised close to 2,500, and it's still in the run. So please make sure you put your places on the paper so that at least we help drive the initiative. Thank you very much. And take your bags and everything because they are going to clean up and they are going to make this room look completely different when you come back. Don't lose your bags.
After the general body meeting, there will be snacks outside, cocktail outside, in the restaurant.
Please take your belongings.
Take your bags.